Thank you, Kellyanne. It's an honor to be here. Delighted to see everyone here. Thank you for your leadership, and to General Sessions and Secretary Nielsen. You might wonder why the State Department is here. Well, this is a whole of government effort. The President has made this a top priority for his administration. The State Department's involved because the problem we confront is not merely a domestic problem. The opioids that are killing American citizens today are produced overseas and are trafficked by criminals and criminal organizations that operate transnationally. The State Department's role is to stop transnational criminal organizations, so-called TCOs, and the networks of criminal activity they perpetuate in trafficking drugs and destroying the lives of our loved ones. Addressing the opioid crisis, as I say, is a whole of government effort. And the State Department's role is to apply its resources abroad with our partners, allies, and others to support all the work that the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and the other cabinet departments are doing to address this problem and this enormous scourge that we have, and to enlist the support of our allies and partners and neighbors in Mexico in particular. It's our highest, at the State Department, this is our highest drug control priority. The bulk of the State Department's counter-narcotics work is focused on countries where opioids originate. Opium harvested in Mexico is the root of over 90% of the U.S. supply of heroin. The TCOs that smuggle it across our border to be sold by dealers throughout the country are the targets that DHS and the Department of Justice are working to stop. We're strengthening cooperation with Mexico through the Merida Initiative to interdict illegal transports, find and punish criminals involved in these organizations, and cut off their sources of funding. In December of last year, Secretary Tillerson and I, along with General Sessions and Secretary Nielsen, continued the strategic dialogue we have with Mexico on disrupting transnational criminal organizations. We're working with our Mexican counterparts to find new ways to disrupt the revenue streams of TCOs that are responsible for trafficking heroin and other illicit drugs into the United States. We're also working with Mexico to more aggressively eradicate poppy crops, train law enforcement, enhance border security, and bring drug traffickers to justice. Over 100 of Mexico's most wanted high-value targets, like Chapo Guzman, have been arrested, killed, or extradited to the United States. And we support Mexico's efforts to find, investigate, and destroy clandestine drug labs. Since 2014, the Department of State has funded DEA training of over 300 Mexican counterparts in special tactics to go after those labs. Since 2008, the United States has donated and supported training of more than 500 canines who are assigned to Mexican and federal and state law enforcement agencies. We sponsor training for canines and handling teams to detect weapons, cash, and drugs. This includes, for the very first time, fentanyl-specific detection training through cooperation with our neighbor to the north, Canada. Last fall, the UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs put new international controls on the two primary ingredients that are used to produce fentanyl. This action was taken at the request of the United States, and such measures are already producing results. Due to this change and other efforts, DEA has seen a decline in the presence of these chemicals in the illicit drug market. And in 2 weeks, again at our request, the UN Commission will address controls on 5 other synthetic opioids, including the deadly opioid carfentanil. The State Department is also building partnerships to more effectively stop the traffic of synthetic drugs sent through international mail and courier systems, which General Sessions mentioned. These efforts allow for law enforcement to more easily interdict any packages that may contain illicit fentanyl. China is a growing area of focus on the fight against opioids. Energized by President Trump's visit to China last November, the United States and China have forged a productive counter-narcotics relationship. As a result of our cooperation, China has established domestic restrictions on the production and sale of 143 substances, including a number of fentanyl-related compounds. China's tightening of regulations has significantly contributed to the reduction of these substances on the streets of the United States. Unfortunately, we're beginning to see a new trend of rogue Chinese chemists who are manufacturing illicit opioids, selling them online to drug traffickers and users, and shipping them in small quantities through the mail. As Secretary Nielsen mentioned, the amount of fentanyl that's necessary to convey a lethal dose is extremely small. So we're talking about small quantities of these illicit substances. In response, we're working closely with China to improve coordination and screening of mail packages between our two countries. We're on an aggressive timetable to get all packages coming from China tagged with advanced electronic data, and we're going to continue that close cooperation with China and other countries that are sources of these chemicals and illicit opioids. Collaboration is the only way we can tackle a problem that has no regard for international borders. The State Department will continue to aggressively pursue this fight against opioids in partnerships with all other nations. Thank you.